Welcome to Crushing Kayfabe. This is Jason Garish, and if I sound a little bit nasally today, it's because I'm having an absolutely horrible sinus day. The entire family is actually, so yeah, I apologize for that, but we're going to have a great show anyway. So before I get too involved here, I kind of wanted to give a little announcement. It's concerning TIWF. They will have a show on Sunday, April 10th, which is going to be a John Baker benefit show and funeral service. So I wanted to give them, I should say, a big shout out and big advertisement because John Baker was an influential and very prolific person in the Western Tennessee independent wrestling scene. So he will be. TIWF will be having a benefit show on April 10th at 2 p.m. on 405 West 1st Street in Trenton, Tennessee, to help cover the costs of his funeral and his cremation. So I know also on the Saturday show that they'll be having, they will be collecting money too. So if you want to help the family out of an individual who was a mainstay in Western Tennessee independent wrestling, definitely go to that. And if you're in the Western Tennessee area, check it out. TIWF always puts on a great show. You know, I met the owner, Randy Bird, friends with him on Facebook. So he always puts out some good talent out there and always has a great show. It's always very affordable. I'm not sure how much this show is going to cost, but I know they're going to be... normally their shows are $5 admission. I don't want to put that on this because unfortunately the information I have doesn't give that information. But I also know that they're going to be selling T-shirts and it's going to be a great show as usually. They always put on a good show yeah, if you want to attend that, and let's see, that's about all the information I have on that. But definitely 2 p.m. Sunday, check that out. You know, that's Sunday the 10th, I should say. Check that out and help out some people in the wrestling community. All right, help out John Baker's family and help them pay for his funeral expenses. All right. Unfortunately, he had fallen ill a little while ago, and unfortunately, he had a severe, I should say, coronary event at the end of March, and he was in recovery in Memphis for quite a while, and unfortunately succumbed to that event, and unfortunately, he was only 41. Wow, he was really young when he died. That's really sad to see. So yeah, if you can help them out, definitely please do. That would be awesome. You know, don't forget about the people in the Ukraine either. You know, send donations to Red Cross for Ukraine and whatnot. And there are plenty of valid organizations that you can send money to help them out because I'm quite frankly pretty amazed that they're fighting back the way they are, and that the Russians haven't occupied Kyiv yet, which to me is incredible. So yeah, please help those people out and send prayers to them, and send love out to them because they desperately need it. So yeah, hopefully do what we can here and help them out, please. It was an interesting weekend. In-laws were in from Myrtle Beach, so Waylon had a good time. Everybody had a good time. Got to have some great meals. Spent time with the family. So, and of course, Waylon, my son, got spoiled rotten. So, but yeah, thankfully they got home safely. They left on Sunday, so and made that trek back to Myrtle Beach. So thankfully they made it home safely, and it was a good time. Very grateful to have that. So, the prayers were with them to make us home safely, and thankfully they came, and we all had a great time. So thanks and shout out to them. let's see, what should I cover? Oh, I think there was an event this weekend, possibly. That's right, Ring of Honor. Yeah, we had a Ring of Honor show, which was pretty interesting because the first AEW owned Ring of Honor show. I haven't gotten to see a lot of it, but I know that Samoa Joe made his debut, which is really cool. He's signed to AEW now, obviously, and that's gotta be a fun thing to witness because I'm a big Samoa Joe fan. So that'll be fun. A few other things. We had the Briscoes versus FTR and whatnot, but that's pretty cool because, like I said, that was the first AEW show. I'm really hoping that the network allows the Briscoes on the air. I'm really upset that they're not going to allow them to sign them to AEW. I know that Impact, I think, has made an offer, and I don't know how the Briscoes have responded to that, but I've always thought they were one of the most underrated teams in the industry just because they were always signed to Ring of Honor. I know they've been very controversial, but that was a long time ago, and I'd hate to see them languish in obscurity just because of some stupid things that he said a long time ago, because they deserve to be recognized as one of the best tag teams in wrestling and deserve to be honored as such. But yeah, that was obviously a pretty interesting event. And there's another little event called Wrestlemania, which happened last weekend. I wasn't sure if I was going to be watching it or not, and thankfully, thanks to Spectrum, which gave me 3 months of Peacock, which I just found out like 2 days before before WrestleMania, I was able to watch the event, which was I'm glad I was, because it was actually one of the better WrestleManias, I should say, in past years. So I'm quite happy that I got to enjoy that. It was especially since The Undertaker being inducted into the Hall of Fame. What a great acceptance speech! Obviously, great acceptance speech. Really, really emotional. I mean, obviously, man has given a lot to wrestling, and it shows. Fans love him. Obviously, I do. He's been one of my favorite wrestlers since being a kid. So it was great to see. When he came out with the mic, with the headset mic, it was kind of interesting. He kind of came off as an inspirational speaker, which part of the speech he gave was very inspirational. It was very interesting. Gave some important life lessons in there, so that aren't just applicable to wrestling. And I didn't know how close he was to having a professional basketball career. That was cool too, to learn that and learn some of the things that he had been through and whatnot. And thankfully, he mentioned his relationship with Jesus Christ, which is always a really cool thing to hear from wrestlers. I mean, it would have been nice for him to mention Mick Foley. I know there's a little bit of controversy surrounding that, but you can't mention everybody. I mean, he didn't mention Foley, he didn't mention like Ted DiBiase, who brought him out there, or any of that. So I mean, you only have so much time. I hate to say it, and no matter how many people you thank, you're always going to leave somebody out. So I don't blame him for that, and I don't think it was a purpose slight. I don't think it was a slight on purpose. I think he just hit his main points and tried to stay under the time, which he took quite a bit of time, but it was worth it. It was well worth it. It was entertaining and an emotional speech, which I'm very glad I got to see. I also watched the Steiners, which I enjoyed their acceptance speech very much too. I thought that was a great speech. Anytime you give Scott Steiner a mic, it's absolutely terrifying and highly entertaining at the same time. So that was pretty cool to see. I unfortunately have yet to see any of the rest of the acceptance speeches. I think I watched a portion of Charmel's, but that was that was about it so far, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that the Hall of Fame ceremony. My key point was I definitely wanted to see the Steiners and absolutely wanted to see Undertaker. So once again, man, I am struggling with allergies, so I apologize for this show, but as I probably sound like I'm holding my nose shut right now. But that was really cool to see. I enjoyed that. And then the following night, the Saturday night, I thought was the better of the two nights. I really, Saturday night was excellent. I'm not going to mince words about that. I think Saturday night was definitely excellent. And anything from that, I think, would have been a letdown. So I'm not going to say that Sunday night was not good, but in comparison, the two, Saturday night was much, much better than Sunday night. Not that Sunday night was bad, once again, but Saturday night was incredible. So, and it's incredible if I'm devoting this much time to a WWE event. So, because normally I don't find them that entertaining. I'm sorry. I enjoy AEW's product right now a lot more than WWE, but they really did a good job with this year's WrestleMania, and it showed. It was good. I really enjoyed the Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair match. I thought that was well done. The pomp and circumstance of Becky coming out gave it a big time match feel, and that was really really well done. And then they put on a good show, an emotional match. Real good show, which I expect from Becky Lynch, although she's had some stinkers or the past, like the Dewdrop match was horrible, but those two athletes, Bianca just looks like she's having a great time. A big smile on her face prior to match, and then her getting the win back from Becky and getting the belt back, I really liked. And Becky Lynch's appearance, I know I'm an 80s kid. I love, my favorite movie is Blade Runner, so when I saw that, it kind of reminded me of Blade Runner and her whole new get up and look. I really liked. I think I'm one of the only people around that really enjoyed the new look from Becky Lynch, but I did. I enjoyed it, and I know my friend Matt, co-host on the first show, had I think he called her a cyborg from a bad Netflix film, I believe was his exact words. So I found that amusing, but still, I like that look. I thought it was really good on her because since coming back, she had a couple different looks, and none of them really appealed to me at all, I thought. But I thought this one fit her image and fit her personality and worked within the match and whatnot. So I really enjoyed that. Other matches, I'm going to go out of sequence here because it's just unfortunately, I didn't take a whole lot of notes during the show. But, the elephant in the room, well, there are a couple different elephants in the room, I should say. Stone Cold coming back after 19 years and having a match. And Owens was able to pull a surprisingly good match out of Stone Cold. And the no-holds-barred thing, that was the only way they could have done this. Because if they had a straight-up wrestling match, it would have been horrible. And my primary concern going into the whole event was I didn't want to see the image and legacy of Stone Cold tarnished in any way, shape, or form. So him coming out there and having actually a very good match with Kevin Owens was a good way to cement that legacy, and I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable. Some of his fakes looked bad in the corner, but thankfully WWE's production crew is top notch. They were able to kind of get the right camera angle and make that work still. So that wasn't a glaring flaw that detracted from the enjoyment of the match for me. No, they did a good job, and because I was scared going into that. I didn't know what they were going to do. To be honest with you, I figured Kevin Owens would insult Texas, and then Austin would stun him, and I thought that would be it. But the fact that they were able to pull off a very solid match. Was impressive, and I enjoyed it. And obviously the probably the other highlight for the evening was the debut of Cody Rhodes. I mean, we were, even those of us who knew that Cody was signed, which was most of the world, because Jericho kind of let the cat out of the bag on that one on his podcast, but none of us were still 100% sure that he was going to debut Saturday night, because a lot of us, myself included, were thinking that there might have been a swerve. He might fool somebody, or I even throw Vince McMahon there. I don't know. I had a funny feeling Vince was going to have a match this weekend, which turned out to be true. But his entrance was great. Entrance was phenomenal. They waited just the right amount of time when they cut the lights to build the suspense, which is something AEW needs to learn. There is a value to silence. There's a value to dynamics. You need a soft and a low to accentuate the high. You need those peaks and valleys. Otherwise, it's just a flat line. And that's something that AEW hasn't learned yet. And I'm hoping that they do. Allow moments of silence. Allow time to pass that you can build excitement, And WWE did it perfectly with Cody Rhodes' entrance. Did it absolutely perfectly. And then when they hit the fireworks and the the intro music started and everything, perfect. And the crowd popped like crazy. A great job. I cannot say that enough. Great job. And the match they put on, I would say, was the match of not just the night, but of the entire show, both nights. It was probably the best match there, and worked great. Cody and Seth had tremendous amount of chemistry in the ring, and the two of them worked great together. And the tribute to Dusty at the end, which could have come off corny, I loved it. I mean, it was emotional. He looked up at the heavens, did his thing, and I'm a gigantic Dusty Rhodes fan. So when he did that as a nod to his father, it had me hook, line, and sinker. I'm sorry. That's one of those moments that was a WrestleMania-worthy moment, and it worked great. It worked awesome. No, they did a tremendous job with that, And the other thing that impressed me at night the most was probably Logan Paul. The guy can go in the ring. I was shocked. He for celebrities, he did a tremendous job in the ring and convincingly conveyed what he had to, and did some real great athletic things, and he really impressed the heck out of me. You had the stupid little intro with the Pokemon card, and I know it's the most expensive and all that, but that means absolutely nothing to me. I hate Pokemon. But it fit his character, though, because he was coming off as this arrogant jerk heel, and it fit his character perfectly. And I'm hoping this sets up some kind of feud with the Miz, because the Miz obviously turned on him at the end of the match, and I'm hoping that this continues to go forward, because I'd like to see him in the ring again. I think the guy can go. And with the right training, I think he'd do very, very well. Yeah, really good job with that. And like I said, I took absolutely no notes, which is a rarity for me. That's kind of an odd thing for me. Normally, I have my notebook standing right by, but I think I just wanted to enjoy the moment and enjoy the show, and I did. It was quite a good show, quite a very good show. And then the following night, that Sunday, we had the I had a little bit more filler, to be honest with you. I hate to say that. The Pat McAfee, with, wow. Pat McAfee thing, once again, there's a guy that isn't a full-time wrestler that did very well, very convincing in the ring, I was, not to get a little scattershot, but the only thing that bothered me about the previous match I was discussing was the one celebrity in that, when Miz hit his finishing move on that, he didn't facially sell it. That's the only thing that distracted from me, and I just want to get that point across too. But aside from that, if he learns that and does that, I think he could be a very good wrestler. But getting back to the whole Pat McAfee and Austin Theory match, once again, McAfee hit all the right spots, did all the right things. Not as smooth, but not as good of an athlete, which is kind of surprising. But he was a punter. Nothing against punters. I'm not gonna, but he still was able to tell a story in the ring, and he was able to convey emotion and capture people's emotions and play with them and manipulate them. Do a really good job, and obviously he beat Austin Theory, and out comes McMahon, and that was kind of a train wreck, that match. But McMahon does not look like he belongs in the ring, and I can't remember how old he's got to be in his 70s now. Jeez, that did not look very good in the ring. He had McAfee take a beat down from Austin Theory, and McMahon ended up winning the match. But the save at the end with Stone Cold, I think, was worth that horrible match. Especially considering the absolutely worst stunner I have seen in the history of mankind. You would think McMahon would know how to take a stunner by now. He's done it enough times during the Attitude Era, but boy, did he screw that up. Screwed that up to the point where I was afraid that Austin was going to break his neck doing it. I mean, that was god-awful, and I'm glad that everyone could laugh it off afterwards, because that looked terrifying at the moment. He did not look good at that, and it was good to see a smile on Austin's face. I think everyone in the crowd, too, kind of appreciated it, because he's never been good at taking a stunner, and that was absolutely no exception to the rule, because it was horrible. It was the worst I've ever seen, and quite amusing. And obviously the end of that, Austin had his celebration with McAfee and then stunned him, which I bet McAfee was absolutely delighted to take and be a part of. I'm sure he was extremely happy to do that, and had no qualms about that. That was really fun to see that. We had and I know I'm gonna miss matches. I'm sorry. It's a lot to process this weekend, and not everything stood out to me. So I'm kind of jumping around because I don't have any notes and whatnot. But the Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn match, wow. It was entertaining, I guess. That's all I can say about it. It was a comedy show, and it was kind of creative. It was entertaining. I'm not a huge Jackass fan, so that stuff really doesn't appeal a whole lot to me, but they played off each other well in the ring, and it was good for what it was. It was another celebrity match. Obviously, Johnny Knoxville is not an athlete, and it showed greatly in there, but he was able to use some gimmicks to still be entertaining. But yeah, I'm glad that's over. The mousetrap gimmick was pretty funny, though. I will admit that was the way that he pinned Sami Zayn down with that was pretty entertaining. I'll give him that. It was creative. It was entertaining. The match I was really looking forward to this night was the Edge versus AJ match. And, he had a little mishap, AJ did, coming out to the ring. He had a gash on his face coming out. I guess I've read various different reports, and they say that there was some kind of mishap with him coming out to the ring. He either caught... The two things I'm seeing is he either caught his face on part of the gear there, or he actually part of his pyrotechnics caught his face. Is another report that I'm seeing. Either way, man, AJ is a trooper anyway. We all know that. I mean, he's a pit bull, so he could have an arm hanging off, which I think at one point in the match he actually did. Which it looked like he dislocated his shoulder at one point and popped it back in, which was, yeah, he's gonna go out there and he's gonna kill it. He's gonna do an amazing job anyway. So I was really looking forward to this. Maybe I anticipated it too much because at points it kind of looked a little sloppy a couple of times, which I wasn't expecting from these two guys. I thought it would be a seamless match, but it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Maybe, like I said, maybe my expectations were too high for this, but I expected Edge and AJ to do a little bit better than what they did. But still, it was a very good match. It was still a good match, and probably the best of the night, actually. But it was still entertaining, and like I said, this had never occurred before. They never had a one-on-one match together, so it was a good thing to see in history, and I always like seeing AJ get his due. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a swerve at the end where Damian Priest came out and distracted AJ, and that ended up giving Edge enough of opportunity to get the pin, and I'm trying. Yeah, he had jogged my memory there for a split second, but he ended up hitting a spear while AJ was going for the phenomenal forearm off the top rope, which Damian, like I said before, Damian Priest had distracted them just long enough to allow for that to happen. I'm looking forward to this union between Damian Priest and Edge. I'm hoping they form some kind of faction. I think these two guys could work well together. And I think it's what Damian Priest needs because his last gimmick was not working at all. So I think him teaming up with Edge and having him as a mouthpiece and helping him out, I think this is going to really work. I think these two guys will have some good chemistry together too. So I think this is a great idea to get him with Edge. Obviously I would like to see an AJ win, but at least there's something storyline that comes out of the whole thing, which leading up to the match, there was virtually no storyline. I mean, Edge challenges somebody, AJ comes out, and Edge attacks AJ later, and it's like, okay. They have no past, they have nothing together, so alright. It was kind of thrown together, but, I was happy to see it, because like I said, I always like seeing AJ get his due and get his WrestleMania moments. And, main event of the night, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Oh, man. I had high expectations for this match, too. Yeah, it was good, and for the most part, it was very entertaining. The whole introduction thing with Paul Heyman grabbing the mic, doing the intro of Roman Reigns, and then Brock Lesnar grabbing the mic, doing his own intro. I think that was highly entertaining, too. Kind of similar to what I'm seeing with Randy Orton. Brock is finally looks like he's starting to actually enjoy himself. Because every other time in the past, it just looks like he's out there to do a job. Now he looks like he's actually enjoying himself. And I like seeing that, I don't think he lost a whole lot from losing the belt because they Roman Reigns ends up winning and unifying the belts. It was kind of a fitting end to the night. It was was a good enough match. Could they have done a little bit more? Yeah, I think they could have. I think Brock had a little bit more in the bag that he could have gone to, and same thing with Reigns. It seemed like they just kept trying to hit their finishing moves on each other, and that was kind of the whole match. But it wasn't a bad match, and it got the story across and did what it needed to do. It was still enjoyable. I enjoyed it, but I think I expected a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know if I was expecting a little bit more mat wrestling. I think I was for some reason, but at this point in Brock Lesnar's career, I don't think he wants to do a whole lot of that, and he can just suplex people and hit F5s. But it was still entertaining, and it was fitting into the night, which was good. Trying to think of anything I missed. RK Bro, obviously. Once again, like I'd mentioned before, it looks like Randy Orton's actually enjoying himself this time around. So that's good. I like seeing that. Other than that, but some people were expecting a turn, and it didn't happen. I'm glad about that. Not to see a turn there. And then we had after that, Gable Stevens had some interaction with Gable in the ring afterwards, and he looked a little rough. He looked a little green. He looked hesitant, but that's gonna come eventually. I think this guy's a blue chipper, and he's gonna pick it up like much in the way that Kurt Angle did. I think he's gonna be really good. Other than that, I mean, there was a tag team women's match, which for the most part was kind of a train wreck. I didn't like a lot of that, and Liv Morgan she's looking better, but she still looks kind of green in the ring. Not really enjoying that. I mean, I enjoyed their entrance, her and Rhea Ripley, but that was about it. That was kind of a snooze fest for me, unfortunately. I hate to say that, especially about women's wrestling, but that really didn't do much to propel anybody, make anybody look good. And that. I can't even remember the finish to it, which is horrible. I should it's WrestleMania. That should stick out in my mind, especially when championships are involved. But right off the bat, I can't even remember that. So that tells you how much I didn't enjoy that match. Other than that, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to recap the whole 3 nights if you include the Hall of Fame, which I was lucky enough to see portions of, and see all of Undertaker's and all of Steiner's, which is what I really wanted to see anyway, which was really good. Nothing against Sharmell or any of the other inductees, but that's really what I wanted to see. I mean, typically, every year I used to watch the entire Hall of Fame speech. It was very late this year, and I just I have to be work at 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's not something I'm going to stay up and watch. But thankfully I was able to go back and watch that later. For some reason, I wasn't able to find it today on Peacock because I wanted to go back and watch the entire thing today, and I wasn't able to find the Hall of Fame on there. But I'm sure they'll post that up later. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see on tonight's Raw what the fallout from WrestleMania is, because usually the Raw following WrestleMania is usually an amazing show. So it'll be interesting to see that, and it should be good. We'll get to hear some remarks from Cody Rhodes. It'll be interesting to see whether he bashes AEW or not, or whether he even references AEW. I mean, the commentators had no mention of AEW existence or Cody's involvement with it at all. I think they're all like, well, he hasn't been in WWE for 6 years. Well, what's he been doing, guys? Yeah, it's like, he wasn't out, hanging out by the pool for 6 years. He kind of was busy. And they had to have given him a heck of a contract in order for him to leave what he had with AEW, with being an officer of the company, having 2 shows on the network in addition to being on AEW. He had his Rhodes to the Top and the Big Show there. So WWE must have offered a lot for him to jump ship. He has mentioned that he never wants to be like any type of management ever again. So I'm wondering if that's a huge part in the decision, because early on with AEW, he was a gigantic part of AEW. His role was very big, and I think that might have been a little bit too much for him. I think he just wants to be a wrestler at this point, and maybe that's why he decided to make the jump, but that's my 2 cents on that. That's what I think. Other than that, like I said, I'll be tuning in. I don't know if I'll watch the entire thing tonight, but I'll be tuning into to Raw. And I'll be tuning into AEW again Wednesday for Dynamite and whatnot. That's pretty much our show for tonight. I really don't have any time to really cover much from AEW, but that's our show. I'd like to give a shout out to Then and Now Flea Market in Trenton, Tennessee. That they have a lot of handmade items, a lot of used items, a lot of new items. There are a variety of different vendors. We have a booth there where you can purchase my CD. You can purchase a variety of different products that were handmade for my wife. So Then and Now in Trenton, Tennessee. Give a shout out to Lucky Lady Candles. That's you can find them right on Facebook or on Etsy, and they're located in Western Tennessee also. So give a shout out to them. Give a shout out to ourselves as usual. Check us out on crushingkayfabe.com, and there you can find links to our various social media sites. And one thing I would like to obviously mention is our Patreon page. If you go to patreon.com, do a search for Crushing Kayfabe, Crushing with a K, you'll be able to find us, and you can subscribe to us for just $1 a month. And what that'll get you is the audio show for $1 a month, ad-free. So you'll be able to listen to the show without any annoying interruptions or ads, and you'll be helping us to keep the lights on, helping me to purchase some more audio equipment, make the show better, improve the show, and offer more shows and offer some more different features and whatnot. So that'd be great. If you go to patreon.com, just for $1 you can subscribe and help us out, help us keep the lights on. Other than that, that's the end of our show. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.